feel the need to create such a complex calendar system?
Why did the Mayans have a need to create a complex calendar system? I don't know that one either. They certainly did. They developed quite a few mathematical principles. They invented the concept of zero, and all the Sumerians invented zero. And the length of its solar year that they calculated was extremely accurate. And this is without telescopes. This is just observing the sky. It's called naked eye astronomy. It doesn't mean taking off your clothes. It just means observing the sky. They put crossed sticks and sat in a certain place on a temple and watched the sunrise. And by watching it where it rises through the year, north and south of the horizon, you could track the length of the solar year. And it was extremely accurate. And they had the knowledge to put in leap years, but I don't know. It's not. Most of the calendars were completely cyclical. Okay, like the ritual calendar, the annual calendar, the 52-year cycle, the calendar round. The long count was not cyclical in the same way. I mean, if you come to 13 and in a sense you start over, well, I guess it was cyclical. I mean, it's within the span that the Maya existed. That calendar hadn't started because it started 3000 BC before they invented the calendar, and that cycle wouldn't end because it didn't end until long in the future after the Mayans were gone. So while they were around, that was not a cycling calendar. It was just keeping track of days, which is good for archaeologists because we know what day rulers took power, what day they conquered someone else. We know when a lot of things happened because of this calendar. So clearly, keeping track of time was important, and a lot of it was for ceremonial reasons. And then they figured out a lot of this knowledge. The Mayas did, and the later peoples in Mesoamerica, like the Aztecs, or the Aztecs came along and basically, took their knowledge from this, built on their knowledge, and used the advances that the Maya had for setting up their own calendars and their own mathematics and science. But why? Probably the same reason that some people have disasters and some cultures don't. I don't know why. It certainly did, but the explanation of why is I don't know.
I'll go back to 2001. Do you think movies like this have power of enhancing collaboration between do you guys between the two streets? Do you guys be working together in the future?
I think they can have that potential. I don't think they usually do. I mean, we're here because Jennifer had the idea to put us together. I don't think it was just because she. Well, I mean, it came about because I do a brainstorming about it, but it's not a regular thing that happens. I don't know that movies usually have catalytic power for research. But they do in the long term sense, and the kids get their imaginations fired up and start thinking about things. They start thinking outside their usual box, and that's kind of key for education in general, and it's certainly key for getting kids interested in science. And even for scientists, when I see a movie that, even if it angers me because it gets things so wrong, it does get you thinking outside your box, and interesting ideas come out of that. So they play a role in that.
In talking about the sun, we have basically the 11-year sunspot cycle. Me being a ham radio operator, I'm very in tune with that.
Yep.
And we've been very long in between activity this time.
Yep.
Just started up again, thank goodness. Any long-term history of records on that, or any predictions that cause it or affects from it, other than the ham radio?
Yep. So the sunspot cycle is well known. It's like the magnetic field flip. It's one of these chaotic phenomena that you can more or less predict it's going to happen, but you can't predict in detail. The 11-year cyclicity is pretty well established, but the depth of that cycle, the sun has sunspots, and a number of sunspots changes with a periodicity that has about 11-year period. But sometimes it gets, the abundance of sunspots gets really low, and that's what we're in right now. We're in an unprecedented low. For a while there were no sunspots. I think finally in the last couple of years, one or two have reappeared. Hard to predict. There is a very small climate effect of that because actually the brightness of the sun does vary with the sunspot cycle. So there is a small climatic effect. It's not nearly enough to explain what we think has happened over the last 100 years with temperature. And even the weakest sunspot cycle like we have right now, it doesn't dim the sun enough to actually cool the planet. Right? I mean, we're in a bizarre low right now with sunspots, and yet the the warming maybe has slowed down, but it's not gotten any cooler. We're still in record high temperatures. We started in record highs we were in the 90s, globally average. Going back in time, we have a pretty robust record going back to a few hundred years. And there is one period of time during the Middle Ages where there was what's called a moderate minimum, which is kind of like for a longer period of time what we're going through right now, with very low sunspot cycles. And parts of the planet were unusually cool at that time, and there are a lot of attempts to link those two together, and we don't understand how they link, but it's a fascinating topic and one of active research.
The first part of which is what happened to the Mayans. I wondered if that was going to be a topic to discuss in the kind of the fall of particular civilization. So I'm just interested what happened to the Mayans. But the second part of the question is whether either of you know anything about whether these kind of geological or geographical or climatological effects have they been involved in the fall or rise, I suppose, of particular civilization in history?
Well, we used to say that we call classic Maya civilization, the people who developed the calendar and we saw their monuments, collapsed around 800 AD. And what we mean by collapse was the population dropped quite a bit from several million, probably down into the maybe tens of thousands. Major cities were abandoned. A lot of knowledge was lost. The long count calendar, that knowledge was lost. That's been reconstructed by scholars. By the time the Spaniards showed up, they were not using the long count calendar. So a lot of information was lost, society was disrupted, cities were abandoned, and archaeologists spent a lot of time trying to figure out why that happened, how that happened. And there is some evidence that there were droughts at around the time that happened. But so far we haven't figured out, at least to my mind, how to link those droughts to what actually happened. Because you tend to get climate scientists who identify a drought, and well, if there was a drought, the Maya collapsed, we figured it out, end of story, we don't have to worry about this anymore. And then you get some archaeologists saying, well, people respond to environmental crises through behavior and activities and through their culture, and it's not just a simple thing with the drought, and all of a sudden people are going to go away. And people have responses, and people are smart, and culture is resilient, and so just having a drought doesn't mean people are going to it's going to bring about the collapse. And so they go against the drought idea. And I think, well, the fact that there was a serious drought probably had something to do with it, but how we model that or how we link that up is still really not well understood. There's also a reaction, sort of strange reaction, it's going a little bit off topic here, but Jared Diamond had a bestseller called Collapse, How Societies Choose to Fail or Not or something. And some archaeologists now are going around saying, well, the Maya didn't really collapse, which I find that baffling. I'm always going on my blog and complaining and getting the Maya attacking me for that. I mean, the Maya weren't lost entirely. When the Spaniards arrived, there were still Mayas around speaking Maya. There's still a couple 100,000 Maya speakers today. But that civilization, their cities, a lot of their knowledge, their kings, their political system, their long count calendar were gone not long after 800 AD.
You're often the whole 2012 thing that ties both science and Mayans together is go back to the magnetic fields, go back to the sun, coronal projection mass projections and everything. Also talking about some galactic center being flying through space and radiating the Earth and killing us all. Any sort of radiation like that whatsoever, and I'm sure the Mayans had no idea how to dig that if that was true.
I mean, in terms of things from space, further away than a meteorite hitting, the thing that's out there that is real is what's called a gamma ray burst. So and I'm not deeply familiar with this, getting into talking to astrophysics friends, but you can get events that shower the Earth in gamma rays, and that can they happen completely virtually at random, not an unpredictable thing. My understanding has to do with stellar events, and those can cause damage to your atmosphere. You can damage the ozone layer actually, and that can cause problems. You're not going to kill all life on Earth unless because we have it next door. There's no reason to think that any star right nearby is on the verge of going supernova or something like that. So aside from that, I don't think there are galactic scale things that we need to be worrying about right now, or can even foresee.
Okay, that's it for the evening. Please join me in thanking our speakers again. And thank you all for your participation. Please join us for our next Science Cafe, which will be on March 19th, titled Facts or Hype? What is the media telling us about nano and other new technologies? If you would like to receive email updates about the Science Cafes and other events by the Center for Nanotechnology and Society at ASU, we have a sign-up sheet over here. If you'd like to be added to our list, please add your email address.